Welcome to another bone-chilling tale, where the line between the real and the unreal blurs. Tonight, we're visiting a small town with a strange and terrifying tradition. When the clock strikes midnight, no one, and I mean no one, dares to answer a knock at the door. But what happens when someone ignores that warning? Let's find out in tonight's story, The Midnight Knock. There's a strange tradition in our small town, one everyone knows, but few dare to talk about. It's simple. Don't answer a knock at your door after midnight. The rule is never broken, not since the last time someone did. I used to think it was just a ghost story. You hear something enough times, it loses its sting. But I learned the hard way that this isn't just folklore. It's a warning. It was a freezing November night. I had just moved back to the house I grew up in after my parents passed away. It felt strange being back, but I had no choice. I couldn't afford to stay in the city any longer. The house was old and creaky, and despite the central heating, the cold seeped into the walls like the house was trying to breathe in the chill. That night, the wind howled outside, whistling through cracks in the windows, and the branches of the oak tree in the front yard scraped against the siding. I was drifting in and out of sleep on the couch when I heard it, a slow, deliberate knock at the door. Knock, 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 3 times. I froze. My blood ran cold as I glanced at the clock. 12:15 a.m. My heart began pounding in my chest. The knock came again. Same rhythm, same force. Knock, knock, knock. It wasn't just a late hour. Something about the sound sent chills down my spine. I remembered the town's rule. No one answered a knock after midnight. But this was ridiculous. It was probably a neighbor, right? Maybe someone lost or in trouble. My rational brain wanted to push aside the fear, but the pounding in my chest wouldn't let me. The knocks came again, louder now, more insistent. Knock, knock, knock. I tiptoed to the door and looked through the peephole. I don't know what I was expecting, but what I saw wasn't normal. There was a figure standing on my porch, tall, unnaturally tall, its head nearly touching the top of the doorframe. I couldn't make out any details, only the silhouette cast by the dim streetlight behind it. The figure just stood there, perfectly still, waiting. My hand shook as it hovered near the doorknob. I knew I shouldn't, but something deep inside me, curiosity, stupidity, made me reach for the lock. As soon as my fingers touched the metal, I heard a voice, a whisper, "Don't." I spun around, but no one was there. The voice had come from inside my head, or maybe the house itself. My heart raced as I backed away from the door. The knocking stopped. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking it was over. But then, I heard the faint sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, moving around the side of the house. I ran to the kitchen window that faced the yard. Nothing, just the dark outline of the trees, swaying in the wind. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. The figure was now standing by my back door. How did it move so quickly? I didn't know what to do. My phone was dead. Of course. I considered running outside, but something told me that would be worse. Much worse. The knocking began again, this time from the back door. But it was different, softer, almost like a tap, as if the thing knew exactly where I was and wanted me to know it was waiting. Knock, knock, knock. I backed into the living room, and as I did, I heard the knocking again at the front door. It was impossible. I had just seen the figure at the back. Knock, 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 front and back. The knocking continued in sync. It was like there were 2 of them now. My skin crawled as I ran upstairs, locking myself in the bedroom, trying to steady my breathing. I pressed my ear against the door, straining to hear. Silence. Maybe it was gone. Maybe knocked, knocked, knocked. The sound was coming from inside the house now, just outside my bedroom door. I froze. My body wouldn't respond. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. The door to the bedroom creaked open on its own, and I saw it. It was tall, thin, with limbs that seemed far too long for its body. Its head was tilted unnaturally to the side, as if its neck had been snapped. But its eyes, oh God, its eyes were hollow, black pits. It stood in the doorway, not moving, not blinking, just watching me. "Let me in," it rasped, its voice like dead leaves scraping across the floor. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was paralyzed by fear. And then, as if sensing my terror, the thing stepped forward, its footfall heavy and deliberate. I don't know how, but I managed to run, throwing myself out the window. I fell hard, pain shooting up my leg, but I didn't care. I ran into the night, away from the house, from the thing. I didn't stop until I reached my neighbors. They found me the next morning, half frozen and delirious. I never went back to that house. I never will. But sometimes on cold nights, I still hear it. In the wind, in the creaking of the old buildings around me. A faint, steady knock. Thanks for joining me for tonight's terrifying tale. Remember, if you ever hear a knock after midnight, think twice before you answer. Be sure to subscribe for more stories that will keep you up at night. And until next time, sleep well.